Gillian McClure is a well-known children's writer in this country and abroad. Her book, What's the Time, Rory Wolf, was chosen by the government for Key Stage 1 readers. And in America, her book, Selkie, attracted the US Parents' Guide to Children's Media Award for Outstanding Achievement in Children's Books. So you can understand that NAPE is delighted that Gillian McClure has chosen NAPE to help launch her latest book, Don't Eat Granny. Gillian has written this book because of her grandchildren. They were being taught punctuation by the teacher, and Gillian thought it would be fun to teach it within a story. If you want to find out more about Gillian and her teaching her books in schools, which is live, then please watch the videos I produced a few years ago featuring the book Selkie and the Little White Sprite. Links below. Gillian, welcome to the NAPE YouTube site. Thank you very much indeed for coming to speak to us today about the Don't Eat Granny book, which sounds absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Anyway, could you tell me why you started writing children's books? Because you're a well-known children's author anyway. So what sort of motivated you to start or to write children's books?
I was doing children's stories and illustrations all my childhood without realizing that was what I wanted to end up doing. And then I was teaching a reception class, and I made a homemade book for my class, which I had standing in the book corner, and a schools inspector came into the classroom and he spotted it and he said, would I mind if he sent it off? And the long and the short of it was it ended up with Andre Deutsch.
Wow, a publisher.
By absolute chance, I started by chance. They were starting a children's list and I was with them for 2 decades. The same editor. It was wonderful. Those were my golden years.
I'm sure they still are. So which books sort of stick in your mind or you're proud of that you've written over that time period?
Prickly Pig, about a hedgehog and autumn. That was around for a while. What's the Time, Rory Wolf got onto the list of books for 7-year-old tests. And then as I moved from Andre Deutsch, then I was with Scholastic and Simon and Schuster. I did the Norse Myths with Kevin Crossley Holland.
Yeah.
And The Little White Hen with Philippa Pierce. And then there was Bloomsbury, which was Tom Finger and Bruna. And then Transwelled, Selkie, that was a big one.
That was a big one, yes. Yes, I read that book very well.
And of course, I had an American publisher who took all my more difficult books back in those days, Farrar, Straus and Giraud. So that was good. Francis Lincoln, and ended up with Troika, Martin West.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite a library of children's books. And in terms of age groups, do you have a specific age group in mind when you write them?
Yes, I'm really doing it for the picture book age. And so that can be from when you start reading picture books to them up to probably about 7.
Yeah.
So Selk is a bit at one end. Yes.
You mentioned picture books. You are, of course, quite an artist yourself in terms of supplying the images for those books. Have I got that right?
Yes, I'm an author, illustrator. And when I'm with authors, I don't feel 100% an author like them. And when I'm with illustrators, I don't feel 100% an illustrator like them. I'm completely down the middle, author, illustrator.
One-man band, you might say. And of course, let's now concentrate on the book, which is to one side of me in the corner, which it says, Don't Eat Granny. Yeah, and you've just published this book, is that right?
Yes, Don't Eat Granny came out this autumn. So it's making its first tentative steps towards independent bookshops and hopefully schools, but it's very early days.
Good. And I mean, could you outline, basically, without giving the game away completely, of course, but could you outline the story for us, please?
Well, it's about a little girl, and she's called Red Hoodie. And she's writing a story about herself and her granny and a wolf. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Sounds very familiar, yes.
But some of her sentences have punctuation that's not quite right, and that affects the meaning of her story. Yeah. And her story starts to go a bit out of control, and she needs help. So onto the page arrive 4 little punctuation characters, full stop, comma, exclamation mark, and question mark.
Of course.
And they quickly get embroiled in the story. So it's very much a story within a story, a book within a book.
Very good. And I mean, it is an unusual book. It seems to me to be a teaching book, not in terms of learning to read, but also to understand punctuation. Why did you choose this sort of novel approach of using a well-known story and then putting these characters in? Why did you do it in that way, do you think?
Well, I think I was being led on by my twin grandsons. When they were in Key Stage 1, they came home very excited, having learnt about these 4 punctuation marks. And they immediately were demanding stories about them.
Yeah.
And then they were also learning to enjoy a joke at that age. And they wanted punctuation jokes.
Yeah.
So I in effect got commissioned, and then a very strange,
by your grandsons, yes.
A very strange coincidence occurred, because when they were in Key Stage 2, not Key Stage 1, a bit later, and I was still working on this book, but it hadn't appeared anywhere, their teacher wrote on the whiteboard, "Don't eat Granny," and asked the class to place a comma in the sentence. And of course, they got very excited, and they told the teacher after the lesson, "Don't Eat Granny is our granny's book. She wrote it." Whereupon I think the teacher looked very perplexed, but was polite. This is the front cover of Don't Eat Granny. And there you see the 3 main characters, Red Hoodie, Granny, and the wolf. If you move on, this is the purple one is that's the front end papers. And you can see it's all punctuation marks, the first 4 marks. If you move on then to the title page, you can see on the left-hand side, I've dedicated the book to those 2 twins, Magnus and Bjorn, and their sister Liv. And here we're introduced to Red Hoodie. And she's saying, if you're thinking I'm Little Red Riding Hood, I'm not. I'm Red Hoodie, and I'm not little. And what's more, I've written this cool story about me, my gran, and a wolf. But it's turned out all wrong, and bits don't make sense. It starts. Before we turn the page, this is a story within a story, and I'd had to paint the page turns. So you see at the bottom right, there is more paper there than on the left. Gradually, as you go through the book, as the pages turn, there'll be more on the left. than the right. I hope that makes sense. If you turn the page now, here we see, go down a little, here we see Red Riding Hood's stories written in her own hand in pencil. And it says, Red Hoodie is going to visit Granny in her bag. Red Hoodie has a cake, cookies, and candy. And then the illustrations show basically what's happening in Red Hoodie's text. And she's saying, commenting, but I didn't mean this to happen. And Granny's saying, get me out of here. She's in her handbag. And Red Hood is saying, and I can't see how to put it right. Please, someone help me. So this is the first punctuation joke, where obviously the full stop's in the wrong place.
I see.
And if you turn the page, here they come to help, the 4 little punctuation marks, the 4 characters. And to keep it clear, I always have them on a kind of purpley swirl. It just makes the page easier to read. And so question mark always talks in questions. You need help? And exclamation mark says, we're here to help. Exclamation mark in the story is always very excitable and rather lively. Then you've got the comma with that pencil that has a rubber on the end. And the comma is saying, we'll go through your story with you. And the full stop says, from beginning to end. Who are you? Asks Red Hoodie. Ha ha, she doesn't know who we are. Let's introduce ourselves. And then I have the full stop saying, this is an exclamation mark. He's an excitable guy, always trying to take my place at the end. An exclamation mark retorts, don't listen to him. He thinks he's important, but he's only a boring full stop. And I'm a curious question mark looking for answers. Then Red Hoodie says, and who are you? You're very cute and curly. And says that to comma, and comma says, please don't call me that. I'm a clever comma, and I'm in charge here. Turn the page and see. So that's the introduction to all the little the punctuation marks. And if we turn the page now, we see Red Hoodie's text again, and it reads, Red Hoodie is going to visit Granny, full stop. In her bag, Red Hoodie has a cake, cookies, and candy. And the comma's saying, I've rubbed out the full stop after the word bag, and I'm putting it here. Ah, now it makes sense. And then you have a picture of Red Hoodie setting out with her cake, candy, and cookies in her bag. And if you look carefully, you can see what's ahead, a wolf, a sign, and a little cottage, which is Granny's cottage. And then before we turn the page, the comma says, come on, guys, there's more to do over the page. And if you look again at the page turns, several pages have turned. So now there are more bits of paper on the left-hand side. And this is what you can see progressing throughout the story.
I think that's not only charming, but quite ingenious, may I say. I think that's wonderful. Good. Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Gillian. That is absolutely fascinating and gives a brief introduction to, if you like, whet our appetite about the book. Tell me, has it been used in 1 or 2 schools yet?
Yes, so I'm beginning to get reviews back. So I think I sent you the one from Donhurst School, which
yes,
is a good one.
I'll put that on the screen. Yes.
Yes. And I've got another one which arrived a day or so ago from Great Chesterford Academy. She's the English lead. She says, the bit I'm quoting anyway, a book about punctuation and its importance for primary pupils is a great idea. So something special for them, I think she means their Key Stage 1, is ideal. The humour in it really helps to lift what can be quite a dry topic.
Yes, I agree. Having taught it myself, I would completely agree with you. It is a very dry topic, and putting it in a sort of story form sort of brings it to life, gives it that strong story emphasis, which is terrific. Was there anything else you wanted to add about your book, and how can we get hold of it?
It's listed with Waterstones, but only it won't be in the shops. But they can order it, and they order from gardeners, and so I'm asking people, you know, order it from your local independent bookshop or Waterstones.
Yes. So, okay, Gillian, thank you very much indeed for introducing your book to us. And I'll put all the necessary links and ways of getting hold of the book in the description of this video. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Mike. I mean, I'm really grateful because it will give a leg up.
I sincerely hope so. So those watching, I hope you give it a leg up and give it a try anyway.